Welcome back to the Let's Talk Baseball podcast. I am your host, Mike Cora, joined by my good friend and co-host, Jacob Payne. And Jacob, our season started early. Our season started today. We take the dub in Korea. Got a little scary in there. A lot of heat. It was a really good game. Shohei getting the first hit. A couple other not so great news out of Dodgers camp. We're not usually ones to talk. We've had some Wander Franco, Julio Urias stuff off camera we've talked about, but this eBay situation. It's crazy, and you feel bad for the guy, but honestly, you don't. At the same time, you don't. But hey, man, we're excited to get some back into some power rankings. Season for everybody. 1 week away almost. We're excited to get back into it, and let's keep it going. Jacob, ready to talk some ball?
Oh man, let's get into it. The season has finally kicked off. Obviously, a little bit earlier than normal with the Dodgers and Padres in South Korea, but I'm excited. I'm so happy baseball's back, man.
Baseball is back indeed, and you know who baseball has been a little pleasant for in this offseason, Jacob. The team that jumped from 29 last year's 29 spot to this year's 26 spot, the Washington Nationals. They didn't lose a couple guys, lost Carl Edwards Jr., Michael Chavis, Dominic Smith, Chad Coolman, Jeter Downs. Who did they add? Joey Gallo, former Dodger legend, Jesse Winker, Dylan Flormo, another Dodger legend, Nick Senzel, Juan Yepes, couple of minor leaguer guys you like, Matt Barnes, Zach Davies. You look at the lineup, man, and I don't know. I don't know if it's just if I don't know if it, I don't know what effect, if this is the cheerleader effect or what this is. But I kind of like what I'm seeing. Got CJ Abrams at the top. Lane Thomas had an incredible year. Jesse Winker is slated as a left fielder right now. Joey Meneses, Joey Gallo, Keibert Ruiz, Nick Senzel, former Reds top prospect. Of course, as I mentioned, they brought in Luis Garcia Jr. and Victor Robles. And in that rotation, got Josiah Gray, Patrick Corbin, I believe, on the last year of his contract. I know Nats fans are happy about that one. Mackenzie Gore in the three spot. Jake Irvin, Trevor Williams. Um, Obviously not a lot really on the injury list. Obviously, Son Garrett still is dealing with that fractured leg off that brutal injury in New York. Hopefully, all's good to him. And Cade Cavalli still recovering from TJ. But I want to get my thoughts on this first. I'm sort of high on this team. I think CJ Abrams I think is a has continued to improve since he was traded to the Nats. He's only getting better. If Lane Thomas can be a fraction of what he was last year, that's something good for them. Jesse Winker, man, who's kind of been killing it for them in spring training. His exact stats, if I can find them, yeah, through 14 games, 31 at bats, one homer, five RBIs, and a 972 OPS. I'm looking and I'm liking because he's getting closer and closer back to where he was a couple years ago, to where he was an all-star. So if you can get him back, if you can get Joey Gallo back, who has been struggling a lot, but hey, man, if you get bits and pieces of performances from certain guys in this lineup, I think this team can give us 2022 Baltimore Oriole vibes where, hey, it's not postseason, especially with the signings and trades in the NL West that we'll get to when we cover, because boy, has that been interesting. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I could think at the end of the season we could be looking at this team in a higher spot than I think any of us were willing to look at them at the beginning of the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. First of all, I agree with you. I like what this team's putting together, and something that I can really respect from the Nationals is, since their miracle run in 2019, I believe it was, um, they obviously, shot down in terms of quality of lineups that they've put on the field. That being said, in after the fact of getting rid of your ultra superstars in Juan Soto and Trey Turner and Bryce Harper and Max Scherzer, all of this has happened. We are starting to see the Nationals make good moves for their team to be better in the future. Um, the start of that, in my opinion, was trading for that battery pack of um of Josiah Gray and um Keibert Ruiz. And so I really do think that that was like the beginning of good moves that the Dodgers or that the Nationals have made. And they have slowly acquired players that you start to look at as this lineup progresses, and you start to think, okay, this is a team that is slowly like starting to look better and better. And obviously they're not in contention for the World Series yet, right? But they have been progressively making this lineup a formidable lineup. Their rotation is made up of two really, really good young pitchers that are. I mean, you can think of Josiah Gray and Mackenzie Gore as good shots to make the All Star game by midseason if they're healthy. Um, and then Patrick Corbin, he's there, kind of has had to be for the past forever, it seems like, for the Nationals. But you know last year, like you said, um and then you got two other guys that fill out the rotation, which, I mean, as of right now, they're not really special names, but nothing is stopping them from kind of filling out that rotation as a solid core four. um it's interesting. Like, I totally agree in the fact that the Nationals aren't really going to make too big of a splash this year, especially since they're in a very competitive division. Um, but with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe 3 years down the line, we've got a mix up in this division, and we could see the Nationals fighting for a top spot. Maybe not necessarily knocking the Braves off
Braves,
that,
yeah.
but like knocking on their door at least.
Absolutely, man. And I love big storyline, especially with the spring breakout, getting to see a lot of these young players and prospects come up. Obviously, Dylan Cruz, is he going to be their opening center fielder? Is he going to come up next this year? And obviously, he can do it. I love the guy I love for the guy to do it. But respectfully, how is James Wood not announced to make their opening day spot, dude? It's with 40 at bats, 12, 13 hits, one double, one triple, three homers. And when I say homers, I mean nukes. Literal nukes, because that's all this kid does. 6 RBIs, 10 walks, an 1100 OPS, man. To where I think it's a safe bet. I would put money if there's an over under, if there was any odds on this, of James Wood making his debut and becoming the for sure outfielder spot for any outfield spot this season. I would put money on it because I think he's proved himself ready to do that, at least offensively. I don't know about his defensive metrics, but he's insane, man. And then again, that's not taken away from Dylan Cruz, because Dylan Cruz is still Dylan freaking Cruz, who was top prospect, dude. And I think I still believe is their top prospect in the organization. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure if Woods is above him, but I mean, you're looking and you're liking towards the future, and they're again, like you said, they're not making any big splashes here, but there's definitely a much better product on paper than what they have had in years past.
This lineup is like, now that I'm like looking at it and kind of absorbing it, like their top six guys.
It's not bad.
I mean, you even throw Nick Senzel in there. I mean, you got C.J. Abrams, Lane Thomas, who, if he finds his form again, could be really good. Jesse Winker, we know the kind of talent that Jesse Winker can be. Joey Meneses, star world
My
baseball
king,
player, WBC,
my
okay?
king.
Joey Gallo, if honestly, I really think this lineup gets filled out if Joey Gallo, goes back to Texas Rangers
2019,
Joey
2021
Gallo.
form.
You know, if he can really come into his own and bring like this. I mean, he doesn't need to hit for average in the five spot, right? If he can go out there and he can put together like 35 home runs with a 250 average, like, he would bring so much to this lineup, especially with these guys in front of him, like Jesse Winker and Lane Thomas and CJ Abrams. Like, if Joey Gallo can get a fraction of what he did with the Texas Rangers when he was, at the top of his game, and then you got Keibert Ruiz right after that, one of the better catchers in the league right now. I mean, maybe that's a little bit of an overestimate, but in my
He
opinion, I'm
he
really
had
high.
his he had his best year last year, and I think
Yeah,
I think they signed him to the
offensively and
contract. Yep,
defensively.
absolutely.
I think looking at this lineup, if they are all healthy and performing at their best, they definitely like make
But
make some games like they turn some of those losses into wins and cause problems for some of those NL East teams.
absolutely. And hey, going over that over under 65.5. I mean, I think we all know where I stand. I'm going over on this team, man. I think there's for once we see the direction. And I'm looking and I'm liking. And I think truly that we're gonna see some great seasons from some of these young some of these young Nats.
I think this over under is a really good line. I think it's going to be really close to this number. I don't think it's going to be drastically lower because I think the floor for this team, assuming there's no catastrophic injuries or anything, is not below like 62, 63 wins. But that being said, I don't really think the ceiling is that far over 65 either. I'm going to I'm gonna hit the over on this one, and I'm gonna say the Nats. I'm gonna say 68 wins, somewhere in that realm. I'm gonna say it's over, but not by a lot.
All right. I like that. I like that take. Hot take on our part, Jacob. Who we have next? These next three teams is gonna be a little sneak peek. They're all AL Central teams. I beg my pardon. Who we can kind of mix where you like. Right now on the sheet, I'll tell you just so we can, if we want to move things around. We have Guardians at 25, Royals at 24, and Tigers at 23. So let's start with the Guardians as they are here on the sheet. They did end up losing a couple of guys, Lucas Giolito, Ronaldo Lopez, who, hey, he earned the 5th starter spot for Atlanta right now, so good for him. Zach Plesac, Cole Calhoun, Syndergaard is Cinder gone out of there. Daniel De Los Santos, Kyle Quantrill, and Oscar Gonzalez. SpongeBob, postseason hero. I was surprised about that one. Who they added? They bring in Austin Hedges, Guy, Estevan Florial, Davison De Los Santos. If I messed that up, I'm sorry. They bring back Cookie Carrasco. They bring in Ben Lively and they bring in Jaime Badia. But you know, there's very few teams that didn't do a lot in this offseason, and the Guardians are find themselves to be one of them. I mean, and hey, you do have pieces there. Um, Stephen Kwan, guy who's not going to give you the best slug. He's going to give you great defense, great average, great contact hitter. You have Andres Jimenez, like once again, great defense. 2 years, 1 season removed from being an all-star. Jose Ramirez, you know what we're going to get from him. Josh Naylor broke out last year, had an incredible season. I'm expecting big things from him. Ramon Laureano, Bo Naylor, Gabriel Arias as their shortstop, Estevan Florio, and Miles Straw on the bench, Austin Hedges, and you got others. In the rotation, Shane Bieber, as we record this, is still indeed a Guardian. Can that change throughout the season? Absolutely. Could that change before opening day? I think there's this very, very small chance it does. Hint, hint, wink, wink, New York Yankees if that happens. But I think that's the only way we see that happen. You stick Tristan McKenzie, Tanner Bybee, Logan Allen, and Cookie Carrasco. Looking to lock up those rotation spots. Um, and I hate to put them here, because they were a playoff team just a year ago, 2 years ago, and it feels like I don't know, man. I mean, Kyle Manzardo was supposed to be the starting first baseman for this team. He's not now. They optioned him down. I don't know. Maybe again they have the magic, and we can look on this team and they can do some stuff. And I do think they can do some stuff. I just think they're asking a lot they're asking a lot more from guys um than what they're usually expected or what they're trying to go out there and do. Like Miles Straw, you're not going to get an offensive player from him. You're going to get defense. Same thing with Ramon Laureano. We don't know what Bo Naylor is yet. Gabriel Arias, can he be the starting shortstop to where there's a lot of can you on this team, and I don't know if that can you is going to be they did at the end of the season.
Yeah, I they lost a lot. You know, they lost a lot. Giolito, Zach Plesac, big big pitchers. And here's the thing, right? The Guardians, what saved them and saved their seasons the past couple of years is obviously being in the AL Central. You don't have to be good to win the division. But secondly, their pitching. The Guardians pitching, their bullpen, their defense has really done wonders when their offense is lackluster. I remember the playoff games against New York where their pitching really, really soared, and allowed them to win games. I mean, not to say that this lineup is made up of a team that can't offensively contribute, but they haven't, you know? Um, Granted, obviously they have had their time in the limelight, and it's a young core of players that they have that is projected to start the year. And that's all well and good, all well and dandy. But if you look at the teams in the rest of the division, Royals made some serious additions. Twins didn't really make too many additions, but not too many uh, um, players that they lost, so they're still going to be in it. Tigers are there, and the White Sox. Nobody needs to talk about the White Sox, but
We did last episode. We got that covered.
so I mean, I I don't know the direction that they're going in, Michael. I don't know what the plan is for these Guardians. Losing Zach Plesac, I think was a bigger hit than this team may have
he
thought it
was
would
he
have
was
been.
supposed to be their guy. He truly
And
was,
I
and
thought he should have been. I think they should have been building on Zach Plesac. I mean, hell, you would have had a big three of starting rotation with Shane Bieber, Zach Plesac, and Tristan McKenzie. Who Tristan McKenzie is now probably the guy that they're betting on going forward. Granted, definitely a good guy to bet on because he's got some nasty stuff.
nasty stuff.
Um, but it's just it's weird to me. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is for the Guardians. I don't see the path forward in terms of what we're going to do other than ditching Shane Bieber at the trade deadline and getting hopefully prospect some prospect pull in the end of that. But then you're left with a starting rotation of Tristan McKenzie and the gang of the rest of the players. You know what I mean? Carlos Carrasco, I don't see him being much of an addition to their lineup other than bringing experience and knowledge to impart on these younger guys, which if he can do that, great. That's always a great thing. That's why when the Dodgers bring back Kershaw, I always love that signing, not even for his performance, but for what he can do in terms of knowledge to the younger guys and kind of
Absolutely.
being that rock that they can lean on, and whatnot. So if that's Carlos Carrasco's role, then that's great. If he needs to be a good starter, that's not good because I don't think he can do that. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying I don't think he's got it in him. He's almost going on 40. I mean, we're getting close to Rich Hill numbers. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah,
and that dude is still out there, so I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, it's not completely outrageous. They still have Class A. They still have a really good bullpen, all things considering. um they got Scott Barlow. He's got an arm. um so I just don't think it's enough to make a dent in this AL Central. I mean, it would have to, in my opinion, it would have to take a a semi collapse from the Royals because obviously they've made a lot of additions, and in my opinion, I would slot them above the Tigers. But that being said, they aren't proven yet. And then you got the Twins, who are the clear favorites to run away with this division. But there's always question marks with that team. So
absolutely. And I think I just reminded myself last year of something that we were talking about where it's like, they had innings limits on some of their guys, and instead of like how the Dodgers went about it, and something that they compared the Guardians to is that they let Miller pitch. They say that they kept him in, but they would stop him at 6 innings, 7 innings. They wouldn't let him go truly deep into those games, to where that's how they limited their innings. But when the Guardians, they just recycled their youth, and a guy that they were banking on last year that did actually really well for them, Gavin Williams. He's had some elbow discomfort. They have a couple of their star bullpen guys, James Karinchak and Trevor Stefan. They're currently, one of them is dealing with fatigue, one of them is dealing with elbow surgery. That just happened. So I don't know. And you look at the Guardian stats page of spring training, and you see some guys and you see some numbers that you like, but they're all prospects, and they're all prospects that aren't necessarily close to coming to the majors, to where it's you're right, man. I don't see a direction for this team. They're over unders at 79.5, to where, hey, if you have that Guardians magic, yeah, I agree with you. It's an under, but if you can find something and develop these guys and develop a better way to go about this season, but like I said, like we were kind of hinting at, the Tigers and the Royals added, man, and the Guardians pretty much lost. And I think that's where I'm gonna take the under. And I see the under from you. Any thoughts? Any final comments on these Guardians?
No, I think as of right now they're pretty clearly in the 4 spot in the division, in my opinion. Obviously things can change. If this offense starts to produce like they should, then maybe things change. Then maybe we look at them in a little bit of a different light. But as what we've seen so far in the past few years, they just don't make enough happen in like a consecutive frame of like an inning. If you've got one guy going off in one inning and another guy going off in another inning, and you can't kind of string them together where you have, enough guys hitting doubles and singles in the same inning, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the numbers for the individual guys aren't terrible, but you put them together, they really don't have a run producing lineup as of right now. The potential's there, they just have yet to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we said it, 24 right now is those Royals. Who they lost? Zach Greinke still unsigned as of right now. I don't, as I believe. I don't know if he's retiring or not. I don't think anyone truly does know. Brad Keller, Matt Duffy, Jackson Kowar, top prospect. Josh Stalma, a lot of innings in this last column. Amir Garrett, Hunter Dozier, Samad Taylor, Taylor Cock, and Dylan Coleman. Who they added those, Jacob? They added some guys. They added Nick Anderson out of the Braves bullpen. Kyle Wright. Remember when he was the 20-win potential Cy Young contender in 22? Hunter Renfroe, a guy. Adam Frazier, who arguably had one of his better offensive years with a below 750 OPS, but he kind of hit the long ball. Garrett Hampson, you know what you're getting from him, contact and speed. Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo coming off fantastic years for the Padres. John Schreiber from the Red Sox bullpen. Chris Stratton and Will Smith, both from the Texas bullpen, to where although one of their quotes was like, "Where is this coming from?" And their GM was like, we need veteran guys on this team. There's too much youth. We like the youth, but we don't think they're going to be the most productive lineup if there's not someone there helping them out besides the hitting coach. And I really like that from the GM and the direction of this offseason. And the lineup, man, the lineup is looking real nice, to where I think I might go with you potentially and move the Tigers up, but we'll talk about the Tigers in a second. Or move the Tigers down, sorry. But batting leadoff, MJ Melendez, who's always been projected to be a guy for them. Bobby Witt Jr., they lock him up. Probably one of the more underrated best moves of the offseason, locking him up. Vinny Pasquantino, a guy who, congrats to him, got married, coming off an injury. And dude, this guy wants to play and get back so much from interviews and stuff, from what I've heard around camps, that he's ready to go ball out. Salvi Perez, he's been balling out. Nick Prado, Hunter Renfroe, Michael Massey, Michael Garcia, and Kyle Isbell, and you have company on the bench. And the rotation, Cole Reagans, beg your pardon, who broke out for them. Really struggled with Texas. They added Cutter. I've heard people around the league say that he's a lefty DeGrom in the way he pitches, the velocity goes about it. Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha coming off great years, as I said. Brady Singer, you still got Jordan Lyles in there. In the injured list right now, you currently have a couple of bullpen arms that you don't love to see injured, and Kyle Wright, of course, coming off a shoulder surgery. But man, this team, I'm looking and I'm liking, dude. I think you have Bobby Witt. You know what you're going to get from him. Stud. Vinny Pasquantino, who is a proven stud. Salvi Perez, who we know what you're going to get from him. And you're looking at these players' hitting stats on their spring training. And everyone who qualifies to be an everyday player on this team, or a bench player with 20 plus at bats, their lowest OPS, I believe, is a 700. and everyone's above that or way above that. And that's amazing to hear from that. This team offensively can pull it together because that has been definitely one of the definitely a weakness for them. To where, hey, you get some innings out of these guys. You know, Waka and Lugo, they work together with Reagans and Singer. They're like, hey, maybe let's bring Singer back to what he's supposed to be. Reagans, let's keep it up. And you have the bullpen guys, which I'm liking, due to where, you know, you for 4 out of these 5 starters, if you're going to go 6 5 innings and go to a pen where you have a breakout star in your closer and James MacArthur, Will Smith, John Schreiber, Nick Anderson, and guys and company in the bullpen, to where you might be locking down games. And I know, obviously, you look at teams around the league where you're looking at, you know, the Astros of the world and those and such, or those with amazing bullpens and with amazing pitching staffs, but where you're looking, and I think the ceiling for this team could possibly be one of the higher ones, if not the highest, that we've had, to where their floor, I think, could be 2 games under their over-under line.
Yeah, one thing that I like to see looking at this is the fact that each one of these guys, minus Hunter Renfroe in the starting projected lineup, is drafted by the Kansas City Royals. And I think that's super cool. You love to see a team that drafts these players that they end up bringing up and slotting in. And I think that's super cool, especially Salvador Perez, who was drafted in October of 2006. Wow. Anyway, so I yeah, you know what, this lineup, I mean, it features obviously big star Bobby Witt Jr. This guy is sensational, man. Like he is one of the next greatest players in my opinion. Five-tool player, strong, fast, hits for contact, hits for average. He is sensational, and he can get the slug in when he wants to. I mean, he's actually the top slugging hitter of the lineup. So that's pretty great. Um, and then you look at the rotation, and if you slot Kyle Wright in there once he's healed, this rotation actually looks not too bad, especially with Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, and Michael Waka. If you get Brady Singer to pitch to his ability, yet they have not been able to figure out how to unlock that, granted. Um, but he has the ability to be another one where you kind of make a five man rotation that's kind of formidable. I mean, it's not it the cool thing about this rotation, if you slot in Kyle Wright, is like the ceiling of this rotation isn't too high, but the floor is not low. Like it's a rotation that's like got a steady 5 guys who are competent pitchers, who aren't crazy good, but are quality pitchers. And then you've got a bullpen that features Will Smith, who obviously, if you have Will Smith, you're going to win the World Series. So, there's that. So it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I'm not completely sold on this Royals lineup, but that being said, they've got they've made a lot of moves, and I like it. I like to see that the Royals are making some moves because they know that they don't have to be the most incredible team in the league to win the division, make playoffs, and then make some waves in playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how these Royals do, how they fare during the year.
I will say this, obviously limited innings for a lot of these guys, but I don't know if this is gonna affect our overall over under decisions. Um Cole Reagans through 4 appearances, 13 innings, 5.40 ERA. Brady Singer through 16, 7.31. Seth Lugo through 11, 7.15. But hey, man, you got Michael Walker in there with a 3.85 or 86, which you love to see. And again, there's company there, and I think, and again, this team, I think, again, their main goal is to bring in this veteran leadership. But I mean, throughout the league, you got guys who are saying this lineup can be serviceable, and this team can make some waves within that division. To where, of course, we're gonna be speaking a lot highly because I feel like the potential in the NL Central might be more. what might be at a higher point. But if you're looking at the AL Central, you're looking at some guys to where the floor isn't as high as as we thought it would be for a lot of these teams. The over under here is at 66.5. I think they blow past that. I'm not saying like high 70s or low 80s, if that could be their ceiling. But there is a world where, you know, their rotation, the guys get back to health. The bullpen puts together some innings. The rotation puts together some innings. Some of these guys that need to break out finally do, to where you're looking and you're going, hey, what do we got? And I think there were renderings of a new stadium coming out this offseason. So hey, if you're a Royals fan, I think I would be sitting I'd be sitting pretty compared to some of these other teams in this division.
You know, looking at these over-unders, Michael, I feel like we're missing something. Because, like, they have the Royals at 66.5 and the Guardians at 79.5. Like, I I do not see these teams like that at all. I mean, I think this is a clear over for the Royals 66.5. I just don't see them going that low, aside from the fact that if they have some sort of really catastrophic like injury bug that they go through during the season. 66.5 just seems so
That
low to me for them.
it's something that even talking baseball talked about. We're gonna get to the Astros and Rays obviously in a bit, but where they're like, is this a trap? Like, why is this where it is? Look at this teams what they've done, what they did in the offseason. It's a great point that you made though. And hey, go Royals, go. Let's finish the top two with our last AL Central team of the night for a little bit. Those Detroit Tigers, man. They did lose some bodies. They lose Eduardo Rodriguez, Austin Meadows, Jose Cisneros, Spencer Turnbull, Matty Boyd, Zach Short, Tyler Alexander, and some minor league company. Who they added though? A lot of people forget this as it was like the first move of the offseason, technically. Mark Canha is on this team to provide some veteran leadership. Gio Urshela is there. Jack Flaherty, who's been looking pretty nice in some spring training outings. Kenta Maeda is there. Shelby Miller, a couple former Dodger friends. Andrew Chafin returns. And a couple minor league guys that you'd like to see, including former top prospect for the Brew Crew, Keston Hira, who's been putting up a couple nice swings there in spring training. And you look at this lineup, man, and I don't know. And a big storyline of this offseason for these Detroit Tigers was one of their in-house moves. They extend top prospect Colt Keith, who was expected to earn their second base job, I believe. Bounce around between third and second in the minors, but looks like they're slotted him at second currently. Parker Meadows, center fielder, leadoff guy. Riley Green, you know, we're gonna get from him. Spencer Torkelson finally broke out to be what he was supposed to be last year. Can he keep it up? Kerry Carpenter, amazing year. Mark Cannon, you know who we're gonna get from him. Colt Keith, what can he do? Can Javi Baez put something together? Gio Urshela and Jake Rogers there in the lineup. In the rotation, Tarek Skubal, dude, I am so excited to see this guy pitch. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's my Cy Young pick yet, but he's should be top 5 in my opinion in top 5 voting at the end of the year. This guy has nasty stuff. I'm so excited to see if he's healthy, what he can do. Jack Flaherty, can he come back to earth? Kenta Maeda, who besides one or two really bad starts for the Twins, was a really good pitcher for them last year. I think a lot of people forget that Kenta Maeda at the peak of his game is really solid. Matt Manning, who is a guy I'm high on, and Reese Holson, a guy who the Tigers are high on. And like I said, man, you have a lot of guys who can come in and get innings. And I think honestly, I don't know, because I really like this team to begin with, to where their over-under is a little bit higher than the Royals, and the Guardians. But I look at this team, man, and yeah, there's a lot of great points. And I think I might move this down to the Royals. I think that's what we're gonna do. Below the Royals. I think the Royals are gonna go up. But still, I think you like Riley Green, you like Torkelson, you like Carpenter. Sure. But still, man, I mean, to Javi Baez to go out there, I still believe has a below 100 OPS in spring training. That's what you hate to see. And I don't know, man. I wasn't liking, but I'm looking into this more, and you're like, yeah, but Parker Meadows still a rookie. To where you lose Miguel Cabrera, and you look at what the Royals did. They added moves, they added guys, and what not only were they guys, they were veterans. To where you're looking at this lineup right now. The only true veteran right now is Mark Canha, Gio Urshela, sure you can call him that. Javi Baez, I don't know what to call you at this point. um, it's just I don't know, man. I think can they do something? I think their strength of this team is going to be their pitching, which is something they haven't been able to say in a while. To where, hey, if you can get those stand-up performances from these guys, Jay Flair Maeda, bounce back, Scooball is him, who he's supposed to be. You're looking at a pretty good team as far as pitching goes. Before the lineup, man, you're looking at guys where I believe your highest slugging is 467, which is great. But when a majority of your guys are below 400, that's not what you're looking for, especially when their average ain't too high either.
You know, these Detroit Tigers, they're gonna be a team that um is one of those teams where they have a big spread, high ceiling, low floor. Because of the way that their team is structured and they have a lot of young talent, they can come through and produce and be a top team in the AL Central. They can also maybe not hit the ground running and be a bottom team in the AL Central. And I think that's where the most interesting thing. I mean, you got two rookies projected to start uh for these Detroit Tigers, and you have Spencer Torkelson, who is a quality player, but can he find his form? Once again, I mean, you have four guys in the projected starting lineup that have over 3 years of service. And one of them is Jake Rogers, who has 3 years of service. So, yeah, it's interesting. And I agree. I can't call Javi Baez a vet, but Mark Canha and Gio Urshela, those are your veteran leadership, which, I mean, that's not terrible, but it's also not maybe exactly what you want for all these young guys and all these young talent. That being said, this starting rotation, it's not anything to scoff at. I mean, Screwball, Flaherty, and Maeda, that's a strong three. I mean, we know Maeda is Cy Young material when he's right. I mean Jack Flaherty too. Um, and Screwball, like you're saying, could be a top candidate for Cy Young. Could be. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It's interesting. Like I said, I think the Royals are just ahead of them in terms of on paper which lineups I like more. But that being said, that doesn't rule out the Tigers to make waves in this division.
Over-under's at 80.5. I agree with you. I think it's a little bit too high, and I might take that under. I think 80 could be their ceiling.
Yeah, I would also take the under. I wouldn't I wouldn't say so far under. I'm thinking high 70s is where they're going to be sitting, pretty comfortably. Maybe they touch 80. But I agree. I do think that's the ceiling.
Thank you so much, Jacob, and thank you for joining us on this episode of the Let's Talk Baseball podcast. We'll be back trying to get as many episodes as we can. And before opening day, Michael Herrera, joined by my good friend and co-host Jacob Payne, and we will see you guys next time.